Guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited you are here with me for our first episode of Thought Leaders.
Yes.
This brand new podcast. Welcome, Uncle Tim. Thank you for being a part of this.
What a privilege. Thank you for letting me be at the table for the first one.
Yeah.
How do we get them, guys, with this busy schedule?
Exactly. Joseph Mendoza is here with us today. Kris is here with us. And I'm just so excited about this project and everything we hope to accomplish through it. I want to do a round robin and just kind of explain everyone's title, what they're doing, and then we can kind of get into what actually Thought Leaders is and what our mission and vision is. Uncle Tim,
yes,
master mentor of Thought Leaders.
Yeah, so my background as a thought leader literally comes from sports. When I think of my Little League coaches, my basketball coaches, and saw that so many of them were good leaders, some were great leaders, and some were bad leaders.
Yeah.
And the great and the good leaders were better.
Yeah.
And then I saw some great educational leaders, even like in junior high, high school, then going on to college. So I became a person who loved education, studying, went into the ministry, and then also into business. And so I love leadership. I love this idea of thought leaders.
Yeah. No, I couldn't be more excited to have you. You, to me, you're not only my uncle, but, just being able to kind of see, in all honesty, you have been a true thought leader in your industry in so many ways. And in a very real way, you were really the first person within your market to go from not only ministry, but to making it in Hollywood and to kind of expanding into the corporate side. No one had done that before you.
Yeah, thank you.
And then now I feel like everyone's trying to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But in that case, I had great thought leaders behind me. I mean, there were so many people that cared about me, like even a Lee Iacocca, who trained me in business, all the way to Oral Roberts, who was a thought leader because he even created his own university. So I had some good mentors.
Yeah, I love that. Joseph, you're a lead networker.
Yep.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think, people want to be a part of a community. They want to be a part of a network. And I think what we're creating here is a movement through thought leaders. So to be the network coordinator or lead is I take that role extremely to heart, because we want to grow this network and we want to see people, who are thought leaders in their respective industries play a huge role in what thought leaders is going to be in the future. So I'm excited. Happy to have the master thought leader here with us, and episode 1, you guys.
Yeah, we're here.
We're here.
And then a little bit about Kris. I met Kris through the church, Congregation Family. Mm-hmm. It was very obvious how competent you were and how amazing your family was. And so recently we got to go to your office. Right. And so that's the company your grandfather founded, and now your father is, and you're VP in an aerospace company. I did not realize you guys had a team of like 50 or 60 folks. You work with SpaceX, all these incredible companies. I think nuclear submarines as well, and so that's just absolutely wild. And so I'm super excited that you're a part of this, and you're the director.
Yes, so I get to direct things in this ministry, but really executing the vision of really understanding what it takes to be a thought leader, and encouraging that gift in others. So I think in the entrepreneurial world that we're living in right now, people are trying to set themselves apart and really kind of identify themselves as an emerging mind in the marketplace. And how you do that is through thought leadership. And so being able to be a part of this ministry is exciting to me, because it gets to allow us to encourage that gifting that's inside other people and pull that out to help not only us to establish ourselves as thought leaders, but to create thought leaders in the marketplace.
That's awesome.
So well said.
Yeah, 100%. So I wanted to share just a minute about kind of the idea behind this, and then I'd love to dialogue with you guys. Mm-hmm. So, a couple of years ago, I started getting just personally interested in why some people could create incredible value, whether that was George Lucas and how he literally reorganized how films were made, whether that was what Elon Musk has done, whether that was watching you, in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. I mean, really do things that no one could do in the space I grew up in. And so the term thought leaders kind of came out of that. And if you look at what does it mean to be a thought leader, really it comes down to three things. And so the first one is that a thought leader has uncompromising vision. So any thought leader, you will see almost always that they have a vision to do something new or that's never been done before, or they do something exceptionally well and they want to do it in a new way.
I like that.
The second thing you'll almost always see is that they have an incredible ability. They almost always are an expert in their field, but they're always expanding learning, which is interesting that they're not only a master at something, but they're constantly pushing what their skill set is. And then the final thing is that makes up the final quality of a thought leader is purpose-driven influence. That they're usually a person of exceptional influence and an increasing influence, and then they're using that influence to serve kind of their bigger or broader vision.
I like that.
Yeah. And so being able to kind of see that and then us coming together as a team and saying, wouldn't it be amazing if we could create a community of people who were marketplace leaders, wealth creators, entrepreneurs, who said, I want to build my career with a thought leader mindset. I want to be a person who's elevating my vision, who's expanding my abilities, and then finally, who's increasing my influence. And so what if we created a community where we not only could bring in influencers who are doing that, and then also raise up and see future thought leaders learn those skills. And so that's really the mission and vision of thought leaders, and it all begins with this podcast.
I like that, and I think that a lot of people have the desire to be that person.
Yeah.
And the more I study people, when they were little, there was something inside of them that knew they wanted to do something bigger than what they had seen before, or sometimes even heard before. But it takes proper skill. And also, it takes the proper attitude, and I think that's a lot of what you're going to be talking about in thought leaders.
Yeah,
you got to get that skill set, and even the Bible says, "You see a person skilled at their work, they will serve in the presence of kings."
Yeah. So I think this is be worth it to really drill down to these three qualities. And so the first quality is uncompromising vision. And so I wanted to ask you, Kris, as someone who's from a family who really, you guys started with a small business and you guys have just exploded, and that core vision that your grandfather had, then your father, then you. How do you kind of see this playing into affecting people?
Absolutely. So, vision is really something that galvanizes you for the work ahead. So as long as you have that vision in front of you, it can give you the momentum to keep pushing through the difficulties and challenges that come from it. In the case of what I've gone through with my family, my grandpa was really a thought leader, inventor, patents. My dad, the same way. Yeah. And so I came up growing up with that attitude that I am a thought leader. I can achieve greatness. I can do big things. And so having that vision really propels me to be someone that I wouldn't have been if I didn't have the vision. And I think really an essence of what a thought leader is someone that can give voice to the vision. Mm-hmm. Because everyone can have a vision. For every invention that's out there, there's probably 10 or 20 people that said, oh, I came up with that 20 years ago, but they never gave voice to it. So it's really having the vision, but also giving that voice to it that really starts to propel you into being a thought leader, and which is why it's the first element out of the three of really becoming a thought leader.
Yeah. Tim, as someone who's like a true master, just everything from public speaking to, I always joke around with Tim. I always say he should have been a copywriter in another life because he's super good at just being a wordsmith. I guess, how do you think about expertise, ability, the value that comes with the difference between someone who's just an actual expert at something versus someone who's not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number one, I like what Kris said, and the fact that he got to learn from his grandfather, his father. So I think that he saw the skill set, but also then you have to learn the tools.
Yeah.
And the tools of what does it take for me to work that skill.
Yeah.
Because I remember talking to Smokey Robinson. I said, man, there were so many great singers in Detroit. You had Aretha Franklin, you had Marvin Gaye, then Stevie Wonder comes over there, then the Jackson 5. He said, Tim, there's great singers everywhere, but it took a Berry Gordy to bring that skill set out. Mm-hmm. So that's what I see. I think that a lot of people that want to be thought leaders and have potential to do something, they may have that skill set, but they don't have the tools, and then they don't have the proper mentors.
Yeah. One of the things that you always said that really struck with me, I think, as I grew up, was you always talked about the power of working your land.
Yes.
And you would say, if you're fifth grade, work your fifth grade land when you're seventh. But I was like in fifth grade when I heard you first say that. So. But I think that really taught me a lot. And I guess what is that idea, number one, and how it kind of has it shaped you in your career?
Yeah, so this idea comes from Proverbs chapter 12, verse 11. He who works his land, or even she who works his land, shall have abundance, but whoever chases fantasies lacks wisdom.
Okay.
So what I see in today's society is a lot of chasing fantasies. Yeah. So people have social media, and they see certain people doing things, and they're chasing fantasies. But really, the biblical idea is you got to plow the ground, plant the right seed, okay, water the seed, which is repetition, and then the harvest will come. And so in the plowing, the planting, the watering, you have to be very intentional about how you do that. So that's why I said to you in fifth grade, work your fifth grade land. Or when I was a dishwasher, be the best dishwasher I could be. So that's the beauty of this. You never know who's going to pop out and lead the universe.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the behind the scenes. They may have been plowing, planting, watering, and just fixing the harvest.
Yeah. I think that principle, it's almost like a Protestant work ethic, but it's just this absolute commitment to working very hard.
Yes.
And trying to and seeing your talent and seeing yourself as valuable, and that you are worth it, and that you have a responsibility to take all the advantages that you have and try to manifest yourself in I think the most meaningful way possible.
Yes.
Is a lesson I've learned directly from my family. And I think it was grandma, it was you, it was my mom, it was my dad, but that really strong sense of regardless of where you start, regardless of where you're at, you can be great at something. So pick something, work your land, and move up.
Super good.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So Joseph, I want to move to you. When we kind of had, an initial conversation about this podcast, I asked you what you were interested in talking about, and the first thing you said was influence. And so I love this. Kick us off.
Well, a lot of us thought leaders, we have kids, right? And I think the word influence, when I look at purpose-driven influence, we have down three things: value, leadership, and impact. And I really find myself talking to my kids about influence quite often, especially my 13 and my 17-year-old, because they're in high school. What type of influence are you going to demonstrate? Is it going to be, Godfluence? Is it going to be kingdom influence? Or are we just going to be the class clown? Are we just going to be another pretty girl? So in thought leaders, we want people who are making maximum influence in all that they do. So me, as a person who gets to be around Tim Storey, who I think you guys would all agree is a master at influence. And as Kris was saying, he grew up with that vision from his grandfather, from his father. It was instilled in him. Where I was raised, we weren't raised with the influence mindset. Yeah. We were raised with, how can we just survive? We weren't taught to thrive. We weren't taught to think beyond. But I tell you one thing, being around Tim Storey for 10 years, it'll really change your mindset. It'll really change your perspective. And I know today that I can make maximum influence. And I believe that everybody in thought leaders, has their own calling, and they will make their own influence in their own respective industries.
Yeah, Tim, this is a great question to you, because we've talked about this a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll meet disproportionately younger people, and they want to increase their influence. But I feel like 90% of the time, they're doing it in the wrong way.
Right.
And we often
Yeah.
talk about that, is
Yeah.
that it's like they think influence is one thing, but it's really something else.
Yep.
And so where do you feel like most people get influence wrong? And then the people who are getting it right, how do you think they're getting it right?
Yeah, I like this idea of what you make happen for someone else, God will make happen for you.
Yeah.
So I think that even with you, Kris, you help build your grandfather's dream. You help build your father's dream. And you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. And I think that so many people, it's about building their own dream, their own empire. So I was always looking to serve somebody else.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when I was a dishwasher at 15 and a half, and I talked to Mr. Anderson, and we used to dialogue, and he says, Timmy, I'm going to tell you a secret. I put $150,000 into starting this business. And he says, thank you for caring enough to help me get my money back. And I said, what do you mean by that? He says, because you do dishes like you want to help me get my money back. That really touched me.
Totally, yeah.
Because that meant that he saw that I was trying to serve his vision.
Yeah.
Right? And then someday other people would serve my vision.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think to me that says value, really, to have a kind of a value approach to influence. How can I help? How can I be of service? That shows leadership, because leadership is all about taking responsibility. And number three, I think that just shows a lot of on service and saying, how can I make an impact, rather than what can you give me? Mm-hmm. What can I give? Yeah.
I would like to think and ask you, Kris, culturally, was this something that was taught even coming from your grandfather to your father and then now into you?
So, I mean, for us, my family came from Sri Lanka. So my grandpa understood if he was going to make it here, he had to be better than everyone else. Being a minority, you can't be just as good as the majority. You have to stand out. Yeah. So he understood that when he came to play in a big pond, you got to step up your game.
Wow.
And so from a young age, the two things that my grandpa always taught me was make it happen and follow up. So it doesn't matter what it was. The object was, if someone had a problem, you come up with the solution. You don't just give up.
Yeah.
And so that mindset was in my grandfather, my father. My father was involved in the Patriot missile program, developing the components that went into that. So I got involved coming in that same mindset of looking at excellence. And perfection was the target. It was never having a Me Too personality. It was always doing the best. And so having that excellence mindset really is what set us apart and set us on the trajectory that we do stuff that nobody else in the world does. And we only got there because of the vision, the mindset that was passed down from my grandfather all the way through.
So, Stefan, I think that in that case, it's the culture of being raised in Sri Lanka with this family.
Yeah.
But also see, as all of us do, you could have a culture within a team.
Yeah.
Right.
Within a company, within a family. So it could be a family culture, a team culture that you create that is just a culture of excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's such a powerful segue to really what we want to do with thought leaders as a community. Because, if you really think about what does it mean to what does it mean to be a thought leader? What it really is about is it's organizing yourself as a professional with these three qualities.
Yeah.
To wed vision, ability, and influence together. And to kind of piggyback off what you said, to not only bring a community of people together who are passionate about those things, but to also create a culture where people can elevate their vision, who can kind of expand their abilities, what they're capable of doing, expand their knowledge base, what they know, and then finally really increase their influence.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. So there's so much on leadership. You look at John Maxwell, some of the other people teach on leadership. Why did you get excited about putting thought on top? What does the word thought mean to you?
Yeah, so I'm a bit of a nerd, so that would make sense, right? To like that. But I think that, leadership is, at least the way I understand it, it's fundamentally your ability to take responsibility and serve the mission and vision of your organization. So an amazing leader is the person who can get a team to do what they need to do to accomplish the mission.
Yeah.
So that's leadership. But I think thought leadership is taking leadership, but then applying a real vision, pushing the boundaries of what you think is possible.
Yes.
And I think that, every one of us, we were raised with a ceiling. We were raised with a family. We were raised with certain expectations. And so to be a thought leader is to say, I'm not only a leader, but I want to push the boundaries of the ceiling.
Yes.
And I want to change the trajectory of my family. I want to do something
Right.
my family's never done before. And so that's all the leadership skills, but it's also that second element of I don't want to just be a great leader. I want to actually change the trajectory of where we're headed. Yeah.
I like that. I think it's almost like a Lego.
Yeah.
When you get a Lego, when you're a thought leader, in my opinion, you have to have a correct mindset.
Yeah.
So that's like part of the Lego that comes on just being a leader.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of people trying to be a leader, but they don't put the Lego of the correct mindset on it.
Yeah.
And I really think a thought leader is someone who sets the trajectory of where business and everything goes. So usually, like before an industry really takes off, there's a thought leader that has the kind of emerging vision of what it's going to take to go into that next frontier, and they end up spearheading that, and then you see business eventually catch up to where the thought leader has already charted course.
Very good.
But I think the main difference is that why I like the way that we've set it up with the 3 building blocks, if you would. A lot of times what I've seen is people wanting to be an influencer first, but they haven't established the vision and the ability. And so you have people that, they may have a lot of followers, but in the end, what are people following? And so being a person that is a thought leader is really having a whole encompassing understanding of thought leadership, the vision, the ability, plus the influence.
Yeah. It's interesting. Cornel West has this, he's a philosopher I like and a professor at Yale. He has a great question where he says, if you ask any American who was the most influential African-American in the early 60s, everyone would say Martin Luther King Jr. And then he says, if you were to ask everyone who was the richest African-American, do you know the answer? And no one knows. And I think that like kind of plays to that, is that there's something about having a vision and then having a purpose-driven influence and then having an exceptional ability and all those things coming together to create a value that no one else can create.
That's right.
That's so meaningful.
I like that. I think leadership as a thought leader is not just vocal. And if I could say this about you, Joseph, I think a lot of your leadership is not vocal. Some of it is. But even the way you lead your children and lead your family, it's not always you're going and telling all of us about it. We just see it in the strength of your family and the health of your family. So how have you brought thought leadership even to your own children?
Well, I learned from you, right, that we don't have to be vocal, that we can lead through being silent, and it's more through action. So for me, as a father, I know I have 5 kids staring at me. So if I'm not going to be a person of influence, guess what? I can't expect my children to be of influence. But if they see us thought leaders with the vision, the ability to influence, because Tim, you talk about this a lot of us were birthed in pain.
Yeah.
I was birthed in pain, alcoholic family. So I wasn't raised with this maximum vision or this ability that you're going to do, supernatural things, or you're going to make or have this positive influence. And I'm sure there's a lot of people and thought leaders who were birthed in pain, right? Yeah. So these words, when they hear them, they could sound fearful. Wait a minute, that's not me. I don't have vision. I don't have ability. I don't have influence. But we do it. I do it with my kids and my family in a silent manner. And Tim, I love what you say is we want to be that person who walks into a room and we don't have to say anything. And people just feel the peace and the spirit and the influence that we make, and that's what thought leaders is all about.
Yeah, we could become carriers of leadership without saying a word.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to see that at an early age with some amazing, powerful leaders that didn't say much, but you could sense and feel their leadership.
And one of the things you guys have always admired about Tim, and if you're ever backstage with him or he's going to go speak to 30,000 people or 10 people, just to see the humility he has when he walks into a green room or when he walks into and greets other speakers or the person who's running the conference, it's always, how can I serve you? How can I serve your vision? It's not about, I'm Tim Storey, I'm here, I'm the keynote, I'm the guy who's going to deliver the best message. That's done automatically, but just to watch you and the way that you operate and the influence that you carry, which is grabbing a microphone and not even having to say a word, I mean, has taught us, younger generation, and you've helped pave the way for us. So it's an honor and a privilege just to be at this table with you.
No, thank you
for this first episode.
And I mean that.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Tim that I'd love to share. It's related to this. So, well, I went to Africa my first time when I was like in 15 or something, and it was to South Africa. And so we stayed at this hotel in Mandela Square. Mm-hmm. And so every person who like worked at the hotel in the concierge, like all knew Tim and all had like a story about him. Because they knew we were from the church, so they would say, "Oh, you're Tim Storey's nephew. Oh, he gave me this tie," or like, wow. "Oh, he gave me." It was so funny, and that I never forgot that. It had such a big impact, I think, on my worldview, because I think as a younger male, you look at that and say, "Okay, I got to get my stuff together. Like this is a value. This is how you should organize yourself in the world, and it's going to make a big, big difference."
And I think to me that was about seeing all of us as being unique and being amazing. And so whether it was the guy that was working the front door at that South African hotel or the maids, the maids always become my best friends in all these overseas trips because I'm always gifting them things. Because to me, we're all God's creation. And we all have so much potential. And I just want to pull out potential out of people.
Amazing. Stefan, as we wrap up this first episode, as the director of, as the founder of Thought Leaders, can you share with everybody what are the three main expressions that we're going to accomplish through Thought Leaders? What can people expect as we move forward, not just with the podcast, with in-person meetings? If you can kind of just paint that picture for everybody and what the expectations are. Yeah, so,
I think that all of us, especially people who are in the marketplace, we all have things we want to achieve, and we all have a ceiling we want to move.
Right.
And so the idea that we can create a community that could empower each other to actually do that is really meaningful. I'm in my mid-30s right now, and I have goals that I want to accomplish. And the two things I'm looking at is I'm looking at people that are older than me who can mentor me, or I'm looking at people who are similar and me who have the same goal and grit and who want to move. So when we thought about how to organize Thought Leaders, we're going to do it in three different expressions. So the first expression is a podcast. And so this will be a platform not only for us to discuss issues related to people in the marketplace, but also interview really influential thought leaders that can add a ton of value to all of us who are on our journey. The second is to create thought leader events. These are networking events. We have our first one coming up in a few months, where our goal is to bring a few hundred people who are really trying to elevate their vision, expand their abilities, and increase their influence. Let's get us in a room. Let's interview some interesting people. Let's connect people. Let's create that real network. I would love to hear stories about people making more money, making deals happen, finding that mentor that they've always wanted. And then the third is Thought Leaders Apprenticeship. And so this is an amazing thing that we've been working on that's going to come out soon. And that's the idea of there really isn't any source for someone to grow a business. Like I was talking to someone the other day, and a friend of mine who's really successful, 6-figure guy my age. He's trying to scale. And he said, I don't even know where to go to learn to do this. Do I go to graduate school?
Yeah. Or
do I just find a mentor on LinkedIn?
Wow.
So apprenticeship would be a 5-month program that would basically help you do that. It's to say, where are you now? Where do you want to be in 2 years? And then it's a 5-month program that will help coach you and equip you to get where you need to go. And,
I love that.
Yeah. So, so that's going to be the structure.
And then I know you've been working extremely hard on this playbook, the 9-step to elevate your vision, expand your ability, and increase your influence in the marketplace. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So basically, what we wanted to do is, with launching this really put together. It's called the Thought Leaders Playbook, and it's a 9-step plan to elevate your vision, expand your abilities, and increase your influence in the marketplace. It's basically a really great exercise to take inventory of where you are now as a working professional and saying, where do I want to be in 6 months? Where do I want to be in a year? Where do I want to be in 2 years? What am I good at? Where do I want to grow? And what steps should I take? And so that's hopefully going to be a tool that's going to add a ton of clarity. And it's coming out real soon.
I like that. Yeah. And you'll tell more on next podcast.
Yeah.
Because we're done on this one. And I want to ask you a question. How often will these podcasts be available?
Yeah, great question. So we're figuring that out now. Full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
So at least once a month, maybe every other week, and who knows, maybe more. So but we're doing a bunch.
I like this. Great conversation.
Yeah, so it'll be fun.
Episode 1, you guys, in the books.
Yeah.
And we will be airing on California Talk Radio as well, .com.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah.
For all you watching, California Talk Radio.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us.
Yes.
This is an absolute privilege. I honestly hope to learn more than everybody in this room. Tim, you have taught me so much. I'm so excited to take this journey with you and learn as much as I can from everything that you know. Joseph, you're an amazing family man. I ask you for advice all the time. And Kris, I mean, you're crushing it. And so I hope to tap your brain and really take my time down in terms of learning with you. And I have a feeling if we can all do that for each other, which is the real vision and mission of this, all of us are going to be 10x'd because of Thought Leaders.
Agree.
So
awesome stuff.
Yeah. God bless you guys.
All right.
See ya.